What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and welcome to episode number 9 of our First Down Training show. Today we're going to be talking about is why I hate 7-on-7 so much and some of the problems with 7-on-7, and then we're going to be getting into some current events. We're going to talk about if Travis Hunter can be a two-way player in the NFL, and a former Patriots player talks about what it was like being a teammate with Tom Brady. Then we'll be answering some of your guys' questions that you posted in the comment section from a previous video. So let's get started, you guys. Appreciate you tuning in. All right, guys, let's get into it. So 7-on-7, I've made a ton of videos about 7-on-7 and how much I don't like it. Now, there's a lot of problems with the game of 7-on-7. I don't mean to bag on it. There are some positives of it, and I feel if you use 7-on-7 the right way, it's one of the best tools for athletes in the offseason. But we're going to talk about a lot of the negatives that I feel a lot of players get trapped in, and a lot of players actually waste their time playing on 7-on-7 because of these things. So number one, I would say, is a lack of focus on development. I think especially for youth players and even high school players, like take what I do for a living, right? We train quarterbacks and wide receivers. And when we train our quarterbacks and wide receivers, we're focused heavily on like mechanics, building good habits. You know, some receivers also that I work with will go to a speed and agility coach that we refer them to work on their running form. And the thing is like when you're trying to improve your skills, it takes thousands upon thousands of reps to improve those specific skills. So let's talk about this. Like I'm sure all you guys have probably heard about the 10,000 hour rule. So the 10,000 hour rule is that if you spend 10,000 hours on a specific like topic or a specific skill, a specific task, you become an expert in that because you've put in your 10,000 hours. It's like a psychological study. Now, same thing when you're building like let's say quarterback throwing mechanics. Let's say you're a young quarterback and you have a really long throwing motion or you have a really long front step. The way to correct that habit is by repping out the correct movement over and over again. They say it takes 1,000 reps to break a bad habit, 10,000 reps, again, like 10,000 hours, to master a bad habit. So you need those reps. Now, the thing is, when it comes to athletic training, there are two types of repetition. So you have block training and then random training. Block training is where you're focused on a specific skill and that is what you are repping out. That's the only way that you're going to correct mechanical flaws. Then you have random training, and you need to do both as an athlete. Random training is where you're like reacting to something. It's more like game realistic situations. So an example of that for a quarterback would be like if you drop back and you have to read a defender and then set your feet and throw. But you can't think about the read, think about the throw, like accuracy, and then also think about shortening your throwing motion. So that's my issue with 7-on-7 year round. I think athletes should honestly stay away from 7-on-7 until they get to probably like June, July, maybe late May. I am not the biggest fan of club 7-on-7 starting like January 1 and it takes you all the way till August, because if you have bad habits from the previous season and you never take the time to correct those bad habits, then I feel like you're not getting any better. You're just plateauing and you're staying at the same spot. Now, some of you might come back at me with, well, Coach, what if I play 7-on-7, but I also go see a private coach twice a week and we work on our mechanics? If you have like serious mechanical problems, that's not enough. I'm just going to be real with you. Like I'm not saying to come, train with me 5 times a week or go train with your trainer 5 times a week. What I'm saying is you need reps in a row. You can't go to your trainer and work on a specific task. Let's say you go to your trainer, let's say you get 100 reps in, which is a lot. It's shooting high. 100 reps perfectly, which is rare because a lot of guys screw up because you're trying to break a bad habit. So let's say you have 100 reps perfectly, but then you have 7-on-7 practice. You haven't broken the habit with 100 perfect reps yet. So you go to 7-on-7 practice and you're not thinking about your mechanics, so guess what happens? You resort back to old habits. And let's say you have 50 bad reps. That negates 50 of your good reps. So you're just in this constant battle and you don't really actually see improvement. So what I would rather have athletes do is take the time to actually develop first and then worry about playing 7-on-7. And I think 7-on-7 is great. It's just bad for development, especially with younger kids, if that's all you're doing or that's all you're focused on. That's what I'm ultimately trying to say. Now, second thing I would say, and it kind of ties into this, that I hate about 7-on-7 is how unrealistic it is. Honestly, guys, some of these passing concepts that are drawn up, the quarterback's taking a one-step drop, the quarterback's dropping back and taking 85 hitches and then trying to throw. Like, I cannot stand how unrealistic 7-on-7 is getting at times. Defenses just run two-man coverage, so it's like, all you just do is dump the ball into the middle. It's just all running back choice routes that you throw to. It's not realistic. 7-on-7 was invented to get you ready for 11-on-11. You should be playing 7-on-7 with your teammates because you're trying to develop chemistry and you're working on the plays that you are actually going to execute when you are in 11-on-11. So I think a lot of these club teams and a lot of these club coaches, I think a lot of the club coaches out there maybe aren't even necessarily qualified to teach these certain things. But anyways, that's besides the point. But I just feel like there's not a specific focus on making the game realistic. It needs to be realistic passing concepts, defenses, dropbacks, routes. That's what we need more of. Now, next thing, I saw a post on social media last year that, I don't know if there's any like statistic around this, but it's definitely something that I agree with and something that I've seen. The guy who posted his Instagram is called like Cab Training, I want to say. He's based out of Arizona, like CAB, and he made a post, went pretty viral, and people were going off in the comment section about it. A lot of people in support of the post, a lot of people against the post. And what he was essentially saying was that the popularity of 7-on-7 rising has led to more unsportsmanlike conduct penalties in high school games, at least that he's seen. And I would have to agree with him. I've seen a lot more of that in probably the last 2 to 3 years. I try to go to a high school game every single week during the season to watch some of my players that I train. Maybe it's a big playoff game, whatever it is. And I've noticed that there are a lot more unsportsmanlike conduct penalties being thrown out there. So what I will say about that is I feel like 7-on-7 kind of creates this culture of like arrogance at times. And I feel like it's on the coaches. I don't necessarily blame the players because I feel like athletes, like you're a young athlete, right? You're not fully developed yet mentally. Like I think they say you're not fully developed mentally until maybe you're like 25, 26 years old. So you're dealing with kids. You're dealing with 14 to 18-year-old kids who are extremely impressionable. And kids are going to make mistakes. And so if you have an athlete who's mouthing off, talking trash, every other word's the F word, every other word's the N word, and again, like I'm a white guy, so I maybe don't have a leg to stand on there. But at the same time, I feel like it's on the coaches to make sure that these kids are actually disciplined. Like these kids need to have a good attitude. These kids need to be, respectful. I'm not saying be like a pushover and like if somebody messes with you, you don't mess with them back, you don't say something back to them. I'm not gonna say that, but I'm just saying like the amount of disrespectful things that I see in 7-on-7, like people taking the belt and like whipping people and like spinning the ball or throwing the ball at somebody, like it's on the coaches, guys. As coaches, we need to set examples for our athletes. I know when I'm around my athletes, I'm not perfect, but I always try to make it an effort to not swear around them, to not, half-ass like my teachings. I always make it an effort to like if we're talking about working out in the gym, I always make it an effort to tell them like, hey, no, like, yeah, I got up today, I worked down to this, because I'm trying to set an example for them. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to brag. I'm trying to set an example through my actions. So I think a lot of these coaches out there for these 7-on-7 teams, they're young dudes, they want to have a team, they want the flashiness, they want, like probably money. I understand it. I get it. But you need to set an example for these athletes because they're impressionable. And if you let them get away with that stuff, that's not going to help them out in 11-on-11. They're going to just be conditioned to act a certain way. They're going to be conditioned to mouth off to people, mouth off to referees. They see their coaches on 7-on-7 fighting the other coaches and fighting the referees. I literally saw a video on Instagram of a 7-on-7 coach squaring up with a referee. It's like, what example are you setting right now? Like, we all know referees suck. You've never left the game and been like, man, that was a great referee right there. Everybody hates a referee. It's a thankless job. You know what I mean? That's why I could never do that job, because everybody hates you, right? So you see these things and it's like, dude, you're setting such a poor example for the kids, and that's going to have a trickle effect into 11-on-11, and we're not teaching these kids how to be young men and control themselves when they get frustrated. So those are some of the biggest problems I see in 7-on-7, and hopefully it can change. And the reason why I say all this is that if you're trying to decide to play 7-on-7, keep this in mind. If you're trying to pick a team, make sure that you keep this in mind also. Now, fellas, before we get into some current events, talking about Travis Hunter, talking about Tom Brady, if you are a quarterback or wide receiver watching this video, we would love to have you out to one of our 2-day-long off-season football training camps this spring and summer. We're coming out to 10 more states across the entire U.S. for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps, like we said. So next up, we're going to be coming out to Las Vegas, Nevada. Then we'll be heading out to Seattle, Washington. Both of those camps, though, guys, are completely sold out. But then we'll be heading out after that to Chicago, Illinois, Newark, New Jersey, Birmingham, Alabama, Houston, Texas, Boston, Massachusetts, Columbus, Ohio, Boise, Idaho, and then we'll finish off our tour in Los Angeles, California. So guys, local to one of those cities, we'd love to have you out. If you go to that very first link in the description below, that's where you can sign up. Like I mentioned, Vegas and Seattle are sold out, and the reason why we sell out is because we limit spots so each athlete can get individualized coaching from myself and my staff of guys. So guys, very first link in that description below, we'd love to have you there. So let's get into some current events. So an article came out, you guys, about Travis Hunter asking, will he be a two-way player in the NFL? Now, me personally with Travis Hunter, I don't think he will be a two-way player in the NFL. I think the NFL is a different animal. I think he's a better, me personally, I think he's a better DB than he is a receiver. And I know some people might think that that's an unpopular opinion. I think he will have more success playing DB at the NFL level, just because I feel like as a wide receiver, the wide receiver position is dominated nowadays by great route runners, right? Like, don't get me wrong. He's very, very fast, extremely athletic. He has great hands. Like, he won the freaking Heisman. You know what I mean? Like he's the best player in college football. But if he was just a receiver, would he have won the Heisman? No. If he was just a DB, would he have won the Heisman? No. So the thing is that when you get to that NFL level, every single guy on the opposite side of the field is like a dude. Like, the guy on the defensive side of the field is the best defensive guy at his college. The guy on the offensive side of the field, best offensive player at his respective college. So, only thing I'm saying is that I feel he needs to just stick to DB and not play both ways, because I just feel like his route running is not up to par with some of the other wide receivers in the NFL that have as much success. Now, maybe I'm being a hater. I might be. I hope he proves me wrong, because I think that would be awesome to see. Like, if he could play receiver and DB and have success in the NFL, that's something we have never seen. And I love stuff like that. I love seeing things that we have never seen. So I hope he proves me wrong, but I just don't think he will be a two-way player. I think he should play DB. I think he's a matchup nightmare at the DB position because of his speed, how long arms he has. He has great hands. Like, people play DB when they have bad hands. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to see him play DB, and I think that'd be a better spot for him. Now, next current event is former Patriots star Vince Wilfork reveals why NFL legend Tom Brady was really like as a teammate. So, you know, you hear the stories of the greats like Michael Jordan, right? And people say he wasn't the best teammate. You know what I mean? Like, he was like kind of an a-hole and would like expect a lot out of his teammates, but they were successful, right? And Tom Brady is kind of the opposite in terms of being an a-hole to everybody. Like, what Vince Wilfork said in this article was pretty much that Tom Brady was just like one of the guys. He was a locker room guy. And I think that is super important at the quarterback position, but also in a football locker room. Just because I feel like football is different from any other sport. I feel like coaches, like, everybody's got their respective position coaches. Coaches are generally fiery dudes in football. They expect a lot of their players. They're hard on their players. You have to go through so many hard things, wearing pads, 100-degree weather, 2-a-days, workouts. It's a tough sport. And the last thing you want is a guy in a locker room who's just like pissed off all the time and dividing everybody. You can expect a lot from your players on the field, and Tom Brady did that. He made sure everybody knew what they were doing, but he still made sure off the field that he had relationships with his players. And now, I'm obviously not Tom Brady, but I know when I played in high school, I had a ton of success with that type of attitude. Like, when we're off the field, we're off the field. It's not work. It's not business. I'm not talking to my receivers about route combinations in the hallway at school. I'm just one of the guys. We're just talking about anything. We're talking about girls. We're talking about what we're going to do during the weekend. Like, you need that off the field, but you need to make sure it's a fine line when you're on the field. If any of you guys are a quarterback and you're in a leadership role, just be one of the guys. I honestly think they will buy more into you if they know that you care about them on a personal level. Think about it from like a teacher-student perspective. What teachers do you generally like the most? The ones who just are in there and they're just like a hard ass all all the time and just like, you must do this, you must do that, and they never talk to you and never get to know you? Or do you like a teacher who, like, you know, when there's downtime in class, he talks with you, he jokes around, he laughs, and when that teacher tells you to do something, you're like, okay, yeah, you know, because you respect them and you feel like they actually care about you on a personal level. So you need to show that type of care to your teammates if you ever want them to get to buy into what you're doing or buy into what you're teaching if you're in a leadership role. So I think that article is pretty eye-opening, just because, like, that's the greatest football player of all time, and that's how he was off the field and in the locker room, just one of the guys. And I think we all can relate to that, okay? So now, guys, let's get into some questions. So what we do at the end of every single episode, if this is your first episode with us, because we're still early on in the show, we do 3 questions that you guys have left on previous videos in the past. So guys, if you have questions, anything you want to ask me, football related, non-football related, we will feature it on one of our episodes. So guys, post in the comment section below if you have any questions. We'd love to feature you guys on our next episode, episode 10. So again, guys, we appreciate everybody tuning in, appreciate all of your support. So let's get to question number 1, okay? So now, question number 1 is from Ruhan's videos. Should I play basketball to gain explosive power? So basketball can definitely help with explosiveness. I think as a receiver, basketball is great because, like, when you're dribbling a basketball and you give like a 1-2, that's the same thing that you could do off the line. That, like, shiftiness is definitely improved in basketball. Now, I think basketball is a different type of conditioning than football, so you have to be careful. Like, I think so let's think of it like this. Football is very stop and go. Snap of the ball, as a receiver, you give all-out effort. You're running your route, right? You catch the ball, you're trying to go, then you get a break. And then you got to do it again. So it's stop and go. Basketball is continuous. You're jogging, have to explode, jogging, have to explode. And so there's an explosiveness element to it that could translate to football, but I will say it's a different type of muscle fiber that you're activating. It's more of a slow twitch fiber, whereas football is more of a fast twitch fiber. Every athlete has 2 muscle fibers, fast twitch, slow twitch. Slow twitch is the distance, fast twitch is the short burst. So I think basketball, vertical jump training, box jumps, plyometrics, that will definitely help with their explosiveness. So I have no problem with players playing, you know, basketball in the off season, but I just think you have to be careful with the cardio. Make sure that when it's time to train for football cardio, you're doing a lot more sprints, less distance, okay? So Ruhan, appreciate you asking that, man. Now, next question is from Strong Style Ninja. Coach Grant, who's your favorites to be in the Super Bowl next year? So I'm going to say the Lions. I think the Lions are going to be in the Super Bowl next year. And for the AFC, I'm going to say the Bills. I think it's going to be Lions-Bills. I really do. I think the Bills are motivated. I think Josh Allen's definitely motivated, and he's kind of hitting his stride. I think that I'm not a Chiefs fan. I love Patrick Mahomes because I really can appreciate, I like greatness. You know what I mean? Patrick Mahomes has got it. And I just think that they're going to take a step back this year. I think Kelsey will probably retire. Maybe they'll lose some people. I don't know. Or maybe the Chiefs, maybe Mahomes gets pissed off and he pulls a Michael Jordan and comes back and wins. Maybe he does that. I don't know. But I'm going to say Lions and Bills. So we'll see. Maybe we'll come back to this at the end of next year and see what happens. But I appreciate you asking that, man. I like answering those. So now, next question from Gray Dogger 31. Can you recommend any workouts to boost throw power? So yeah, man. So I think your throw mechanics obviously come down when you're trying to generate power. It comes down to 2 things: hip rotation and transferring weight from your back leg to your front leg. So hip rotation can also is involved with core rotation. So strengthening your core and strengthening your legs are pivotal to help with your arm strength. So, dude, get in a squat rack. I would say 2 times a week, you should be doing a leg day where you're squatting. You know what I mean? That's only going to improve your base and make your legs stronger so you can generate more ground force. Another exercise you can do, dude, any core work will help you. V-ups, sit-ups, Russian twists. Get a medicine ball, stand in front of a wall, and throw the medicine ball up against the wall as hard as you can and rotate. And that rotation is the same thing that you rotate with when you throw a football. So all those things can help your arm strength if you're a QB and you're watching this. Okay, so I appreciate you asking that question, man. Hope that was able to help. So guys, appreciate you tuning in to our episode number 9 of our First Down Training Show. We'll be back with more episodes next week, but I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll see you next time.